Hey there, it's Jen from EFTinstruction.com and empathicmastery.com. And I'm really excited to have my friend Melissa Beasley here with me today. And Melissa is somebody who did get COVID, and unfortunately, she's dealing with long hauler symptoms. So, Melissa has graciously agreed to come on and to do some tapping with me today, specifically for dealing with physical symptoms around COVID and being a long hauler. So, welcome, Melissa. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So, why don't we go into, before we start tapping, let's just go through the laundry list. So, and I know you had mentioned that you tend to have flare ups, that there are days where you're completely fine and all is well. And then there are other times where it's sort of like you're kind of in a flare up with it.
hmm
So, if you were to think about, sort of like scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being one of the good days where no flare up whatsoever, and 10 being like the worst it gets for you, how would you rate it right now?
Right now, I'd say I'm at a 7, um, partly because I've been resting for 2 days. 7 is where I'd say like I'm still able to do things, but if I try to, I will be in bed for a couple of days to recover. So,
So, in bed for a couple days to recover.
yeah.
And where are you feeling this in your body?
Um, so if we're talking laundry list,
Yeah, we're
there's
talking laundry list.
tight shortness breath, especially right up at the top of the airways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Body aches just everywhere.
Mm.
Um, just kind of like that body soreness. Um, and then like a fatigue, like the heavy brain fog, just fatigue.
Okay. What do you say we stick with those three for right now? And what we're going to do is we're going to just get a rating on each one of them. So 0 to 10, the tight shortness of breath, especially at the top of your lungs.
8.
Okay. Body aches everywhere and body soreness.
Right now, um, those are at a 4.
That's not bad.
No, it's not.
Or I mean, it's not as bad as it could be.
I've been resting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in terms of the body aches everywhere, are there any places where it's more noticeable?
Uh, mm, I'd say my hips, and then kind of like neck and down the arms. Like my arms get weak almost.
It's interesting how much that also seems to be one of the things that people who are getting vaccinated are also sort of feeling, is kind of like the way that their arms or their extremities are affected or seem to be affected by the vaccinations. So, this is just COVID. If a COVID didn't suck so much, it's actually kind of fascinating, you know. And then what about the fatigue on a scale of 0 to 10?
Uh, 7.
Okay. So I'm thinking that instead of going for the big ticket items here, the shortness of breath and the fatigue, what do you say we see if we can bring you some relief with the body aches to start with and see where that goes? So is there any other way that you would, describe the body aches, body soreness? Is there any other descriptive word that you would add to that, or is it just body soreness?
Ache is really the best description I can think of for it.
Yeah, so, okay. And would it be sort of body ache, sort of like body aches everywhere,
Um,
or achy soreness everywhere?
it's like an everything hurts. My whole body just hurts.
Everything hurts. Okay.
It's like, when you have a cold and it just hurts.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it hurts to put a shirt on. It's like it hurts for your air on your skin is just uncomfortable. Yeah. What do you say we do some tapping? And for anybody who's watching along, you agree to take 100% responsibility for your own process. EFT is not meant to treat or diagnose. It is simply to deal with how we feel about these things. And if I say something and the words don't work for you, change the words to work for you. So even though I feel this, even though everything hurts,
Even though everything hurts,
I am open to the possibility that, or what are we going to use as a turnaround, as a balance statement?
I believe that it get better.
I believe that it can get better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So even though everything hurts,
So even though everything hurts,
I believe it can get better.
I believe it can get better.
Even though everything hurts,
Even though everything hurts,
I believe it can get better.
I believe it can get better.
It's just true.
It's just true.
Everything hurts.
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 Everything hurts. Everything hurts.
Everything hurts.
Everything hurts.
Everything hurts.
Let's just take a deep breath. And just tuning into that body aches everywhere, body soreness, everything hurts. We had started at a 4. What are you noticing? Is it still a 4? Has it gone up, down, sideways?
I definitely noticed it more in my arms.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like I'm just weaker. So just holding my own self up makes me sore. Is kind of how I would describe it.
And if you were going to give it the overall achiness, is it still a 4? Is it?
It kind of went up.
Mm-hmm.
I put it at a 6.
Okay. That's very understandable. So even though it kind of went up,
Even though it kind of went up,
because everything hurts,
because everything hurts.
and I'm noticing it more in my arms.
And I'm noticing it more in my arms.
I trust that this can get better.
I trust that this can get better.
So even though everything hurts,
So even though everything hurts,
it's just true.
it's just true.
And I'm noticing it more in my arms.
I'm noticing it more in my arms.
It's actually gotten more intense.
It's actually gotten more intense.
So I'm just tapping on it.
So I'm just tapping.
I'm acknowledging it.
Acknowledging it.
And you had said earlier, off camera, I can allow this to shift.
I can allow this to shift.
Does that work right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So even though it's just true,
it's just true.
everything hurts.
Everything hurts.
It feels like I'm holding myself up.
It feels like I'm holding myself up.
And that's making me weaker.
And that's making me weaker.
Or I'm weaker.
Or I'm weaker.
And I have to hold myself up.
I have to hold myself up.
And I feel it in my arms.
When I feel it in my arms.
And just, I'm aware that everything hurts.
I'm aware that everything hurts.
It's just true.
It's just true.
And maybe I could allow this to shift anyway. How's that?
Maybe I can allow this to shift anyway.
And I can trust that this will get better.
I can trust that this will get better.
Yeah. Everything hurts.
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 Everything hurts. Everything hurts.
Everything hurts.
Top of the head, everything hurts.
Everything hurts.
Let's take a deep breath. So is it still a 6? Has it gone up, down, sideways? What are you noticing?
The pain is reduced. I'd say it's almost even down to a 3. It's
Awesome.
like last time it got really, really more tense, and now it's like that feeling of kind of release. Like I'm not trying to hold it up anymore. So I can relax.
I'm just writing that down. How would that be for a balance statement, actually, is I'm not trying to hold it up anymore, and I can relax.
Yeah. It'll be good.
So even though it's just true.
It's just true.
Everything hurts.
Everything hurts.
It is what it is.
It's what it is.
And now that I'm not trying to hold it up anymore,
I can relax. Relax.
So even though everything hurts.
Everything hurts.
It's just true.
It's just true.
And would you say, and it sucks?
Yeah, and it sucks.
I'm just acknowledging it. Because it is what it is. And now that I'm not trying to hold it up anymore, maybe I can relax. So even though everything hurts. And that sucks. It is what it is. And now that I'm not trying to hold it up anymore, maybe it's okay for my body to relax. And I can love myself through this. Top of the head, everything hurts.
Everything hurts.
And it sucks.
Sucks.
Everything hurts.
Everything hurts.
And it sucks.
It sucks.
Side in the eyes, everything hurts.
Everything hurts.
And is it sucks the right way to describe it, or is there another way to say it?
I hate this.
And I hate this.
I hate this.
Everything hurts.
Everything hurts.
And I hate this.
Hate this.
I hate this.
Hate this.
I hate this.
Hate this.
I hate this.
I hate this.
I hate this. I hate this. Keep going. You're doing awesome. Let's just keep tapping. Eyebrows, just keep tapping. Side of the eyes. Let's just keep tapping. Under the eyes. Under the nose. Let's just tap and breathe. Breathing in under the chin. And letting go. Collarbones. under the arm. And relaxing. Top of the head. And let's just grab the gamut point, that groove between your baby finger and your ring finger, and just give that a hug for a second. And let's just take in another deep breath. What are you noticing?
My lungs opened up a lot more after that.
Awesome. So where you had started at an 8 of tightness and shortness of breath at the top of your lungs, what would you say that is now?
I mean, that's like a 4 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And notice how we didn't even tap on that and it moved. This is within the world of EFT terms or parlance, the generalization effect. So what about the body aches? We were at a 4, we started at a 4, we went down up to a 6, we came back down to a 3. Where are we at now?
I don't notice the body aches right now at all.
So the body aches are gone. So we're zeroed out on body aches. Wow. And then what about let's see, the fatigue, 0 to 10?
A 5.
Wow, that was at a 7. So y'all, I just want to point out that within 15 minutes of tapping, Melissa has gone from a 6 of body aches and soreness to a 0. She has gone, without even addressing it, from an 8 in tightness with her breathing to a 4. And she's gone from a 7 in fatigue down to a 5. So what do you say we tap on some of that lung capacity? And so actually, you and I have used this technique before with constricted breathing, where we've done an evaluation of our inhale and our exhale. So what I want you to do is I just want you to inhale and count the number of beats to your inhale, and then exhale and count the number of beats to your exhale, and then just report back to me what your numbers are. So let's just inhale and count. And whenever you're ready, exhale.
It was a 10-12,
Hey.
which is a lot better than it's been last time we did this.
Yeah, really, especially for that constricted, the fact that there's still the tightness. And would you call it tight shortness of breath at the top of my lungs? Would that be a good way to describe it?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, my whole lungs feel pretty, I don't even know if, right? It's like they're swollen and puffy, so there's just not room. But then at the top, there's just this ball of tightness also. So
Okay, awesome. Shall we tap on it?
Mm-hmm.
And as a balance statement, what would make sense? I allow it. I allow it to shift. I trust that this will shift.
I'm ready for it to shift.
That sounds wonderful. Okay. So even though I've got this ball of tightness
at
the top of my lungs, in my throat.
Yeah, it's right at the trachea where it's going down into the bronchial tube.
Yeah, right at the trachea, going down into the bronchial tubes.
Going down into the bronchial tube.
And it's just true. My lungs feel kind of swollen and puffy.
It's just true. My lungs feel kind of swollen and puffy.
So I'm tapping on it.
So I'm tapping.
And I'm ready for this to shift in a good way.
And I'm ready for this to shift in a good way.
So even though I'm feeling this ball of tightness.
I'm feeling this ball of tightness.
Right at my trachea.
Right at my trachea.
Going down into my bronchial tubes.
Down into my bronchial tubes.
And there's this, and my lungs are swollen and puffy.
My lungs are swollen and puffy.
It's just true.
Just true.
I'm ready for this to shift in a positive way.
I'm ready for this to shift in a positive way.
I'm going to try something. I'm ready for this to be easier. Are you?
Yes.
How about I'm open to the possibility that this could be easier?
I'm open to the possibility that this could be easier.
Yeah. That's a clown car we're going to just watch drive by.
Yeah.
So even though
It's
just true,
it's just true.
I have this ball of tightness in my trachea going into my bronchial tubes.
This ball of tightness in my trachea going into my bronchial tubes.
And my lungs are swollen and puffy.
And my lungs are swollen and puffy.
I'm acknowledging it.
I'm acknowledging it.
And I'm ready for this to shift in a positive way.
And I'm ready for this to shift in a positive.
This ball of tightness.
This ball of tightness.
This ball of tightness.
Ball of tightness.
This 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 ball of tightness.
Ball of tightness.
This ball of tightness.
Ball of tightness.
This ball of tightness. This ball of tightness. This ball of tightness.
This ball of tightness.
Let's do another round of this. This ball of tightness.
Ball of tightness.
This ball of tightness.
This ball of tightness.
This ball of tightness.
Ball of tightness.
This ball of tightness.
Tightness.
This ball of tightness.
Ball of tightness.
This ball of tightness.
This ball of tightness.
This ball of tightness.
Ball of tightness.
This ball of tightness.
This ball of tightness.
Just taking in a deep breath. Looks like a lot is moving.
Mm-hmm.
I can really see a shift in the color in your face. It looks like your face is opened up and it looks like the tension has relaxed a bit. Does that feel true?
And I think what I'm noticing is I've had a hard time tapping on all this for myself. And I think it was, there was so much that I couldn't release it without popping the balloon.
Mm-hmm.
And having you be able to kind of hold just enough opening that just enough can come out. That's what's making the difference.
I just, as you described that, I just had this image of like, and maybe it's because you have little boys. I was like, little balloon fart sounds.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I bought a science kit for their homeschool and it came with balloons and like, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's just take tightness and shortness of breath. It was at an 8. Now then it was a 4. What is it now?
So the bit at the top Feels way more open. Like breathing through my nose, I don't feel any restriction.
Awesome.
Breathing through my mouth, kind of trying to breathe into the front of my lungs, the front of my chest, it still feels a bit constricted and heavy there.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'd even put that at like a 3. I could probably
Fantastic.
drink a lot of water and do some breathing exercises.
Yes. Well, and this is not EFT related, but there is a book that recently came out that was, hold on, I'm just going to pull up the name of the author so I am accurate. It's called Breath, and it's by James Nestor. And one of the things he actually talks about at length is about how physiologically we are actually made for breathing through our nose, not our mouth, because when we breathe through our nose, we filter the air and we warm it up. And when we breathe through our mouth, we don't warm up the air, and so it's more shocking to the lungs. So while your body is in lung hauler stage and you're recovering, it may be helpful to be mindful of breathing through the nose as a way to actually give your body that little bit of an extra boost of support that it needs. So how are the swollen, puffy lungs? Is that still noticeable?
A little, maybe like a 2.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, what do you say we tap on this again?
Okay.
So even though I still feel swollen, puffy lungs.
Still feel swollen, puffy lungs.
And this tight shortness of breath at the top of my chest.
And this tight shortness of breath at the top of my chest.
It's easier when I breathe in through my nose.
Easier when I breathe in through my nose.
But I really feel it when I breathe through my mouth.
I really feel it when I breathe through my mouth.
So I'm just tapping on it.
I'm just tapping on it.
And I am ready for this to shift.
And I am ready for this to shift.
In a gentle and easy way. How's that land?
In a gentle and easy way. And I think I could say it's okay for this to be easy.
And it's okay for this to be easy.
And it's okay for this to be easy.
Despite all the shit that I was taught before. So even though. It's just true.
It's just true.
I still feel this tight shortness of breath at the top of my lungs.
Still feel this tight shortness of breath at the top of my lungs.
And this swollen puffiness.
And this swollen puffiness.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
And I'm ready for it to shift.
I'm ready for it to shift.
And how did you say?
It's
and ready
okay.
For this to be easy. Oh, and it's okay for this to be easy.
Okay for this to be easy.
Yeah. So even though. It's just true.
It's just true.
I feel this tight shortness of breath.
I feel this tight shortness of breath.
Swollen, puffy lungs.
Swollen, puffy lungs.
And I notice it more when I breathe through my mouth than my nose.
I notice it more when I breathe through my mouth than my nose.
I'm ready for it to shift.
I'm ready for it to shift.
And it's okay for this to be easy. Or easier.
To be easier.
Yeah. It's okay for this to be easier.
It's okay for this to be easier.
What are we going to use as our reminder? This tight shortness of breath or swollen and puffy lungs?
This shortness of breath. Difficulty breathing. Difficulty breathing.
Yeah, this difficulty breathing.
Difficulty breathing.
This difficulty breathing.
This difficulty breathing.
This difficulty breathing.
Difficulty breathing.
This difficulty breathing.
Difficulty breathing.
This 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 difficulty breathing. It's definitely shifting.
It's definitely shifting.
This difficulty breathing.
It's difficulty breathing.
I can feel that it's gotten easier.
I can feel that it's gotten easier.
This difficulty breathing.
This difficulty breathing.
This difficulty breathing.
Difficulty breathing.
This difficulty breathing.
This difficulty breathing.
This difficulty breathing. This difficulty breathing. This difficulty breathing.
This difficulty breathing.
Let's take in another deep breath. Okay, just tuning into the tight shortness of breath. Where are we at?
It's really localized, whatever's left.
And I'm seeing you, it's like you're touching your sternum or the top of your sternum, sort of your thymus area. How
It's
big
like
is
a, it's like a, it's about that big.
it? So like
like a
tennis ball size, maybe?
It's almost like a strip. It's like, you know, when you have, you know, when your lips are chapped and you smile and they split,
Uh-huh.
that feeling of really tight skin being stretched.
Yes.
That's what it feels like.
Okay. Shall we tap on it?
Mm-hmm.
So even though it's really localized now,
So even though it's really localized now,
and it feels like a strip of tightness
it feels like a strip of tightness
that's being stretched,
it's being stretched.
I'm tapping on it,
I'm tapping on it.
and I'm ready for it to shift.
And I'm ready for it to shift.
It's okay for this to be easier.
It's okay for this to be easier.
So even though
So even though
it's already shifted a lot,
it's already shifted a lot,
because now it's just a tiny strip of tightness
because now it's just a tiny strip of tightness
that's really localized.
that's really localized.
I'm tapping on it,
I'm tapping on it.
and I'm ready for it to shift even more.
It's even more.
And it's okay for this
It's
to be
okay.
easier.
For this to be easier.
So even though
So even though
it's shifted,
it's shifted,
and now it's really localized,
and now it's really localized,
and it's this strip of tightness.
and it's this strip of tightness.
What is it, like a Band-Aid size or Breathe Right strip?
It's like a
Piece of masking tape?
not even that wide. It's like a string more. Like it's just a line. It's like it's a scar, bit of scarring.
It's like
The
a bit
strip.
of scarring, the strip. So I'm tapping on it.
So I'm tapping on it,
I'm ready for it to shift.
ready for it to shift.
And it's okay for this to be easier.
And it's okay for this to be easier.
And maybe I can love myself through this.
Maybe I can love myself.
Top of the head, this strip of tightness.
Strip of tightness.
So it actually is, it sounds like it's shifted from a strip of tightness to a line of tightness now.
Yeah.
This line
Yeah.
of tightness.
Line of tightness.
Besides the eyes, this line of tightness.
Line of tightness.
Under the eyes, this line of tightness.
This line of tightness.
Under the nose, this line of tightness.
Line of tightness.
Under the lip, this line of tightness.
Line of tightness.
Collarbones, this line of tightness. Under the arm, this line of tightness.
Tightness.
Top of the head, this line of tightness.
line of tightness.
Eyebrows, this line of tightness.
This line of tightness.
Side of the eyes, this line of tightness.
This line of tightness.
Under the eyes, this line of tightness.
Line of tightness.
Under the nose, it feels like scar tissue.
It feels like scar tissue.
Under the lip, this line of tightness.
Line of tightness.
Collarbones, this line of tightness. Under the arm, this line of tightness.
This line of tightness.
Let's take a deep breath again. Let's do that calibration with our count, inhaling and counting. When you're ready, exhale. And what were those numbers?
It was a 10-12, but it's a lot easier of a breath.
Mm-hmm. So it was the number, the speed at which you were, or the amount of the timing is still, the capacity of time was the same, but the flow and the ease of breath is substantially different. Yeah.
Much better.
And 0 to 10, the last time we suds did it was at a 3. What would you give it now?
I'd say a 1. It's like it's a lot better. There's just a bit of residual, like it had been really raw, so it's been cleaned and is a lot better, but it's just fried, you know?
Yeah, it's a little tender.
Yeah.
What about the fatigue, 0 to 10?
It's a 4.
Okay. Does it feel like tapping on that 1 for the breath would make sense right now?
I actually think that it's so tender that it should probably be left alone.
Okay. So,
well,
what do you say
no,
we acknowledge it, and how about this? We acknowledge it, and then but we work on the fatigue.
Yeah.
So even though I've tapped it down to a 1, this tightness in my breath. Right now it feels so tender. I'm just going to let it rest. Would that be a good way to describe it?
Yeah, I'm just going to let it rest.
And acknowledge the part of me that feels really fatigued. So even though I've tapped the tightness of my breath down to a 1. And what's left feels just tender. And it feels like the best thing I can do is just let it rest. Maybe I can just let it be okay.
I trust that it'll keep healing.
I trust that it will keep healing. And so I'm just acknowledging the fatigue. And tapping on that. So even though it's a 1 now. I can recognize there's some tenderness. And that I just need to let it be. I need to let it rest. And maybe I can be okay about that. Because I am ready for it to shift. And I trust that it can keep healing. And so I'm just going to tap on the fatigue for right now.
And so I'm just going to tap on the fatigue.
And love and accept myself.
And love and accept.
This fatigue. Top of the head. This
fatigue.
Eyebrows, this fatigue.
Fatigue.
Side of the eyes, this fatigue.
This fatigue.
Under the eyes, this fatigue.
This fatigue.
Under the nose, this fatigue.
This fatigue.
Under the lip, this fatigue.
This fatigue.
Collarbone, this fatigue. Under the arm, this fatigue. Top of the head, this fatigue.
This fatigue.
Eyebrows, this fatigue.
This fatigue.
Side of the eyes, it's really...
I just want to feel better.
I just want to feel better.
I just want to feel better.
Under the eyes, I just want to feel better.
I just want to feel better.
Under the nose, I just want to feel better.
I just want to feel better.
Under the lip, I just want to feel better.
I just want to feel better.
Collarbones, I just want to feel better. Under the arm, I just want to feel better.
Feel better.
Top of the head, this fatigue.
This fatigue.
Eyebrows, this fatigue.
This fatigue.
Side of the eyes, this fatigue.
This fatigue.
Under the eyes, this fatigue.
This fatigue.
Under the nose, this fatigue.
This fatigue.
Under the lip, this fatigue. Collarbone, this fatigue.
This fatigue.
Under the arm, this fatigue. Top of the head, this fatigue.
This fatigue.
Let's take a deep breath. What are you noticing?
I can feel this pain right here in my throat.
0 to 10 pain in your throat.
5.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the cartilage. Like if I had an Adam's apple. That's what would be.
Fatigue 0 to 10.
It's the same.
It's still a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd call it more, I don't know, sadness, defeat, kind of just like weariness.
Weariness. Yeah, so it's actually, it is a shift, it's shifting a little bit, and it's kind of getting more precise. Does it feel like the soreness in your throat, the pain in your throat is connected to the weariness, or are they separate things?
It feels like it's coming up in response to the emotions that are releasing right now.
Okay. So where is the weariness in your body? Is there a specific place where it's hanging out, or is it just general overall everywhere?
I don't even feel it in my body. I feel it around me.
So, and are you immersed in it? Is there any part of it? So
it's like this need to go find a deep, dark cave and curl up in it, away from everything. When I close my eyes and picture it, it's like that's what I picture is just this bubble of
hibernation.
Yeah.
Would that word work for you?
Um,
How about here? What do you say we tap?
mhm.
Even though.
Even though
There's a part of me that just needs to find a deep, dark cave
there's a part of me that just needs to find a deep, dark cave
and take a really long nap.
Yeah. Take a really long nap.
Because there's this weariness
Because there's this weariness
that's just surrounding me.
just surrounding me.
And as it's moving, I feel a pain in my throat.
And as it's moving, I feel a pain in my throat.
So I'm tapping on it.
So I'm tapping on it.
And I love and accept myself.
And I love and accept myself.
And I am ready for it to shift.
And I am ready for it to shift.
So even though
So even though
I just want to crawl into or find a deep, dark cave
I just want to find a deep, dark cave
and
just curl up.
just curl up and get away from everything.
Yeah. Just curl up and get away.
Because I'm feeling this weariness.
Because I'm feeling this weariness.
It's surrounding me.
Surrounding me.
So I'm just acknowledging it.
So I'm just acknowledging it.
And maybe I can love myself through this.
And maybe I can love myself.
So even though there's just this weariness surrounding me,
there's just this weariness surrounding me.
and I just want to crawl into a deep, dark cave and curl up.
And I just want to crawl into a deep, dark cave and curl up.
And get away from everything.
Get away from everything.
That's just how I feel.
This is how I feel.
So I'm tapping on it.
I'm tapping on it.
I'm acknowledging it.
I'm acknowledging it.
And maybe I can really love myself through this.
Maybe I can really love myself.
This weariness that's just surrounding me.
This weariness that's just surrounding.
The part of me that just wants to find a deep, dark cave and curl up in it.
Part of me that just wants to find a deep, dark cave and curl up in it.
Just want to find a deep, dark cave and curl up in it.
Just want to find a deep, dark cave.
I want to find a deep, dark cave and just curl up in it.
I want to find a deep, dark cave and just curl up in it.
I want to find a deep, dark cave and just curl up in it.
I want to find a deep, dark cave and just curl up in it.
I'm surrounded by weariness.
Surrounded by weariness.
I want to find a deep, dark cave and just curl up in it. And I want to find a deep, dark cave and curl up in it.
I want to find a deep, dark cave and curl up in it.
It's just true.
Just true.
I want to find a deep, dark cave and curl up in it.
I want to find a deep, dark cave and curl up in it.
You want to see if we can ask your body if it has any messages? What are you noticing, sweetheart?
I'm hearing massages that I'm touch deprived.
Yeah, I think, sadly, as a nation, we are probably really experiencing touch deprivation right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just go back in and check. Just breathing, just very gently checking on your breath without like really going into it. Just noticing, is that tight shortness of breath still a 1 or is it, where's that?
My lungs actually feel, I don't notice anything. They feel a lot better.
That is awesome. What about the fatigue on a scale of 0 to 10?
2.
Wow, that's amazing. So what would, with the fatigue, with that, I just want to crawl up into a deep, dark cave, or crawl into a deep, dark cave and curl up and, just like get away from all of it. What would you say if your body was asking for permission, what would it be asking for? And is it easy to access what your body's asking for, or should we do a little bit of tapping on what is my body asking for?
Why don't we do some of that stuff?
Okay, side of the hand. So even though it's still a 2.
So even though it's still a 2.
This fatigue.
This fatigue.
This weariness that's surrounding me.
This weariness that's surrounding me.
The part of me that just wants to find a deep, dark cave and crawl in and curl up.
The part of me that just wants to find a deep, dark cave and crawl in and curl up.
I wonder what my body needs.
I wonder what my body needs.
I wonder what I could give myself permission for.
I wonder what I could give myself permission.
I'm open to the possibility.
I'm open to the possibility.
That I can, allow...
What's coming up is that I'm doing it. I've cut out a lot of things. I'm resting. I'm doing this self-care. But I'm not really letting myself do it fully. There's this part of me that's just staying tense and like, I see you resting and taking a break from your business and only focusing on schooling and resting. So we're just going to be extra anxious to make up for that. Does that
Totally.
make sense?
Completely. Yeah. So even though I am doing a really good job taking care of myself,
A really good job taking care of myself.
there's this part of me that isn't letting me off the hook. How would we describe it?
Isn't letting me off the hook.
That is just has to be extra worried.
That has to be extra worried.
Because
I don't know. Because okay. Because it's not okay to be okay when the world is on fire.
Because it's not okay to be okay when the world is on fire.
Because it's not okay to be okay when the world is on fire.
And for some of us, that's true. So even though I have been taking a good care of myself.
I've been taking good care of myself.
I have been allowing myself to rest. I have been cutting back. But there's this part of me that, how would you, that is on guard, that is not letting me off the hook. How would you describe it?
That needs to be stressed.
That needs to be stressed, because how could I be okay?
Yeah, I can't be okay.
I can't be okay when the rest of the world isn't.
The rest of the world isn't.
So I'm just acknowledging it. And maybe at least there's a part of me that's ready for this to shift. So even though
So even though
I've been doing a really good job taking care of myself,
I've been doing a really good job taking care of myself,
cutting back,
cutting back,
simplifying,
simplifying,
just teaching the kids and taking care of my body.
just teaching the kids and taking care of my body.
But there's this part of me that thinks I need to be tense.
But there's this part of me that thinks I need to be tense.
I need to be on guard.
Need to be on guard.
Because how could I be okay
How could I be okay?
when the rest of the world is on fire? Is that how you said it?
Yeah, when the rest of the world is on fire.
Maybe there's a part of me
Maybe there's a part of
that can be okay about this shifting.
that can be okay about this shit.
Can I throw out a possible, and maybe
And maybe
letting myself relax
letting myself relax
and be okay
and be okay
will allow me to handle this situation
will allow me to handle this situation
way better than if I say stay tense.
way better than if I stay tense. And I'm also hearing you're not helping those people by being a mess.
No. God bless every single one of us empaths who learned the Star Trek version of put the hands on the suffering McCoy and take all the pain, because it doesn't work. And misery shared is only amplified. Calmness shared is also amplified. So I'm just tapping on it
So I'm just happy
and loving myself through this.
letting myself.
What would it be? The part of me that needs to stay tense?
Yeah.
Yeah. The part of me that needs to stay tense.
Part of me that needs to stay tense.
The part of me that needs to stay tense.
Part of me that needs to stay tense.
As other people are suffering,
Other people are suffering.
I should be suffering too.
Should be suffering too.
The part of me that needs to stay tense.
Part of me that needs to stay tense.
The part of me that needs to stay tense.
Part of me that needs to stay tense.
The part of me that needs to stay tense.
Part of me that needs to stay tense.
The part of me that needs to stay tense. The part of me that needs to stay tense.
Stay tense.
The part of me that needs to stay tense.
Part of me that needs to stay tense.
Let's take this. Take a nice deep breath. Fatigue 0 to 10.
Yeah. So yeah, the fatigue I feel like has zeroed out.
So we started with body aches, fatigue, and shortness of breath, and pretty much all three of these things are zeroed out at this point in time.
Yeah. I mean, I could use a hot salt bath, but other than that, yeah.
That sounds fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and what I was struck by in sort of as we come to this, and this would be something that would be appropriate to do as an additional tapping session, is some of the underlying beliefs that are contributing to why it is so hard to let this go. And so it's like we've done some really good work on tapping on the presenting issues and on what you've been experiencing and bringing you some real relief. And now it would make sense within another session to start unpacking some of those belief systems about I have to suffer when other people are suffering, which I am sure you are not the only person who has to deal with that one. Yeah.
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 Well, and yeah, I mean, I think I told you before, for the 2 weeks, I have not been able to breathe. I was going to go get an x-ray because I was worried I had pneumonia. So.
Yeah. So to go from, an 8 down to a 0 And,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it took us 15 minutes to get your lungs to open up. And we've spent, we've managed to take three major issues and in exactly an hour tap everything down to zero.
Yeah,
So, does this feel like a good place for us to be done for now?
it does. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Melissa, thank you so much for being in the hot seat and letting me do this work with you and share this. Really appreciate it. Yeah,
I appreciate you.
yeah. Okay, peeps. So, for more information, if you're looking at learning how to be an EFT practitioner, you can head on over to eftinstruction.com or jump on over to my main website, empathicmastery.com, for lots more information. Now, as I mentioned before, EFT is all about tapping on the feelings around stuff. It is not meant to treat or diagnose, and your mileage may vary. So, whenever you're tapping along with any of this, you agree to take 100% responsibility for your own process. Don't go places that you don't belong. If I say something and the words don't work for you, keep, change the words to work for you. And if you notice that you come up against stuff that feels like, oh, this is bigger than I expected, please, please, please head on over to the EFT International website, eftinternational.com, or actually .org. I'll add the link below. And find a practitioner who can help you to move through the bigger stuff. So thank you so much for watching the video. Melissa, thank you so much for being part of this.